So today we are going to be doing something completely different, and like you saw by the title of this video, yes, we are going to be making a game from scratch using only AI. Well, not only AI, but mainly AI. We're going to be using it to generate all of our code for our game. There is some limitations to it, like it can't generate some images for us, some artwork that we need, so I'll be doing that myself. But in this video, and probably in the next few videos, we're going to be using a new a new AI tool made by Open AI, and it's called ChatGPT. So you may have seen this over the internet for the past a few weeks or even months maybe, but it's a very powerful tool that you can ask it questions and it will give you a text-based answer, generally to anything. So we're going to see how it works. And just go for there. I don't really know how long it's going to take because I've never really made a game using it, but I have been testing it out with just random questions, very simple questions, just asking it stupid questions really, just to see what it's like. Something I have done, I've used it for, is actually generating cover letters for me. When I apply to jobs and stuff, I have actually asked it to generate a full cover letter for me, which it works really well. But we'll see if we can get it to try and generate some code for us. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video, and probably in a few of the next videos, because like I said, I don't really know how long this is going to take, but we'll try and get it done in a few episodes. But we're not stopping our what game did we start? We started the what's it called? I can't remember. The slab stacker game yesterday, I think. Let me just check. So we're not going to stop that, or at least we're going to stop it for now. We're going to take a break with that, and we are going to try and generate a game using ChatGPT. So yeah, we've done one episode of our slab stacker, but we will put that on hold for now, probably until next week. Maybe we'll probably do this type of game using ChatGPT for a few episodes, 2 or 3 maybe. We'll put the other game, the slab stacker, on hold, and we will attempt to make a game using ChatGPT. So I have come up with, well, at least I didn't. I actually asked ChatGPT to come up with a few games for me. So let's dive into it and see what it generates for us. So this is what it is. All you have to do is go into Google and just type in ChatGPT and it'll come up. You might have to sign into a Google account or something. But for now, let us go and ask it to generate a few game ideas that we can make, just to see how it works. So in here we'll say, give me a few Unity 2D game ideas that are easy to make. Spell that correctly. So we'll press enter, and then it takes a little bit of time. Okay, clearly not this time. So we can either make a platformer, we can make an endless runner. I already have a game in mind that we're going to make, but I'm just going to do this just to show you how it works. So we can either make a platformer, endless runner, a puzzle, a Space Invaders, that's new, didn't come up last time, 2D fighting game, 2D racing game. Let's see how many games it comes up with. Top-down shooter. We're going to make something fairly simple just so that we don't stick on this for a long time, because we only really want it to be a few episodes. But these are the games that it's come up with that you can make, or rather that it can make for us in our case. But we're not going to make any of these games. What we are going to be making is I chose to try and make a Pong game. So what you do is you have 2 players on each side of the screen, and you have a paddle that you move up and down the screen, or up and down the screen, I think, or side to side, depending on which layout you set up the game. And you have a ball it is a ball, I think, that you have that's floating from one side or the other, bouncing off the walls. And what you have to do is try and stop the ball going behind your paddle. And if you do, obviously you lose a point, I think. So that is the game that we are going to make. Rather, that is the game that ChatGPT is going to make for us, or with us. But let us go and start this. So I have created a new Unity game project. It is a 2D project that we will be using. So let's go and start it. So I don't know where to start with this, to be honest. So let's go and say write a. I'm going to put Unity, so just so it knows we are making a Unity game. Write a Unity C# script that moves a ball from one side to the other, like the game of Pong. So we'll ask it to do that and see what it comes up with. So it should generate the code straight away. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to generate a new script. So in our project, let's go to our assets folder here. Let's create another folder, and this is going to have our scripts in it. And then in this folder, we will create a new C# script, and we will call it Pong Ball, because that's what that script has called it. So in here, let's just rename this quick. Eventually, when it loads. For now, let's go and see what it's done. So this script is attached to a game object that represents the ball in a game. The script uses a rigid body 2D component, which is correct, which is what we want to use, to move the ball, and it changes the direction of the ball when it collides with an object that has a tag of war. Okay, so that's what we need to do. The ball will move from one side of the screen to the other, like in the game of Pong. You can adjust the speed of the ball by changing the value of the speed variable. Also, you can adjust the direction of the ball by modifying the value of the direction variable in the start method. Okay, you need to make sure that the object that you want the ball to bounce off of has the wall tag. Okay, so we will go ahead and copy this and see if it works. So we'll copy that code. You can probably just press that, and then in the script we will go and open it eventually. So we will open that, and I'm going to select all of that and simply paste in the code that we copied from the internet, and then I'm going to make that full screen, save that. So now we need to go and create that ball. So like I said, ChatGPT doesn't really create artwork for you. It's more of it is a text-based output system. So what we will do is we will just use basic assets inside of Unity. So Pong ball is what we need to recreate that script. That error should disappear. Cool. Vector 2. The Vector 2 is an ambiguous reference between Unity Engine and Vector 2. Okay, so we have already come. Interesting. Okay, so if we get rid of that, that should be fine. Okay, so let's jump back into here and create a random 2D sprite, which is going to be a circle, and that is going to be our Pong. Actually, let's just call it ball. And on here, we'll go and add that Pong ball script. Cool. So we've got a speed of 10, and we have the script Pong ball. Okay, so I'm just going to go play the game quick and see what this actually does, and if it does anything. Okay, so that doesn't do anything at the moment. So let's go and see what it does. So start, get the rigid body, direction is equal to vector2.right, update, velocity is equal to direction times speed, which is times 10, on collision. Okay, so let us go into here, and we are going to add some add a wall on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to create a empty object. This is going to be our top wall. We can add a box collider 2D onto that, and then we need to make it the length of the screen, like that. We'll make it overlapping a little bit. Then we can push it up to the top, and then we will add a tag onto that because we need to, and that should be called wall, like the script over here says. Make sure it has a tag of wall on it so that when the ball does collide with it, it registers it what it's colliding with it, and it can bounce off of it. So we've got our top wall. Let's copy that and make this our bottom wall. That should, okay, so we need to add a tag onto that. So wall, the top one, we also need to add a tag onto that. We created the tag, but we didn't add it onto it. So the bottom one, we will move down to the bottom, obviously. So we should have a top wall and a bottom wall over there. So what the aim of this game is going to be, I just want to make this smaller because it's a little bit big. Scale 0.7 and scale 0.7. Okay, so that's going to be 0, and that's going to be 0, so we'll put that in the middle. So that should be fine. Let's play the game and just see if we get any errors. So we don't. Okay. Now the problem is nothing is happening. But first, let's forget about the ball for now, and we will start making the paddles. So let's create not another empty object. What we'll do is we will create another 2D object, another sprite, and we will make that a square. And then we will go and move it to the left of the screen, but we will also resize it so that it kind of looks like a paddle that you can bounce the ball off of. So we'll make that like that. And then what we'll call this is left paddle, and then the other one, obviously because we need 2, is going to be called the right paddle, and obviously it's going to be on the right side of the screen. So we'll put this one over here. Left paddle is at -7. We'll leave that at -7 like that, and then the right paddle we will put at a +7. And then what we want to do now is we need to change this to right paddle. Okay, so that's fine. Now what we need to do is let's go and add another tag onto our paddles, and we will call this paddle, just in case our ChatGPT tells us to add a tag onto it. So we'll add a tag onto that. So now you can see in our game view, here we have our ball, here we have our 2 paddles. So one of the paddles will be controlled by the arrow keys, I think, and the other the other paddle on the left will probably be controlled by the A, W, and D key. Actually, but I probably only need W and S because it's going up and down. Same for the right paddle, we'll use up and down. So that's what we're going to be using. And then the aim of the game is to stop the ball from going behind each paddle by moving the paddle to where the ball is coming and then allowing it to bounce off into the opposite direction. So now what we need to do is, since the ball is not actually working yet, we will go and actually, I think I may know why this is not working. So here on our ball we need to add a rigid body 2D onto it. So we'll do that and we'll save that, and then let's just play the game quickly and see what happens. So there we go, our ball does move, but it moves continuously because we don't have a collider on our paddles. So let's go and add those onto our paddles. So here we want to add a box collider 2D onto them, and they should automatically fill. Where's our scene? So they both should have the correct size box collider, which they do, which is nice. So as you can see, that there it is. So now what we need to do is we need to go and ask ChatGPT to generate some code that will allow us to move our paddles. And by the looks of it, this is probably a simple game that ChatGPT will make, as it is taking very quick. It's not taking very long. We'll probably finish this in today's episode, which is great. But now let's go and ask it to generate some code for our paddles. So write a C# script that will allow me to move the Pong paddles in the game. I just want to do that and see how specific you have to be. Pong paddle. So we'll have to create a new script. So let's do that while that's generating. So in our scripts folder, again, here we need to create another script called Pong paddle. I think that's what it was called. So let's go and see. So the script is attached to a game object that represents one of the paddles in the Pong game. The script uses a input.getAccess method to get the input from the player, and it moves the paddle using the rigidbody 2D component. You can adjust the speed of the paddle, okay. You can adjust the axis of the paddle. Well, you can adjust the axes that the paddle will move on by changing the value of the axis name variable, but by default it is set to the vertical, which will move the paddle up and down. If you want it to move left and right, you can change it to horizontal. Okay, that makes sense. You can also change the range of the movement by adding a clamp to the move variable in the update method, okay, which will do. Otherwise the paddle will go up and out of the scene and you'll lose it. This will make sure that the paddle only moves within the range of -1 and 0 along the chosen axes. Okay, so let's go and copy this code and paste it into our new script. So we'll select all of that and paste that in there, and that should be fine. So what is in here? In here we have a rigid body, so we need to make sure we have rigid bodies on our paddles. So on our paddles we will go and add a rigid body 2D, but then we also need to add in our Pong paddle script. So we'll save that, and now if we press play, you should see that both paddles should move. Rather, they do not move, which is weird. So let's have a look and see. So let's see what this says. The script is attached to a game object that represents one of the paddles in the Pong game. The script uses the input.getAxes, okay. Input.getAxes axes name, which is vertical, which is what we want. We want up and down. Where was I reading? Method to get the input of the player, and it moves the paddle using rigidbody 2D component. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to say in the chat box here, I'm going to say rewrite the script so that it uses input.get. Actually no, so it's already using that. Well, let's scratch that for now. So let's go and save. Actually, did we save it? Save it and then play it. There's also another problem with the script is that it works. Whatever you do with one paddle, it's going to do the exact same with the other one. So there you go. Okay, so it is working clearly. I just didn't. I didn't save it. So on our paddles, let's go onto our paddles here quick and remove the gravity. So we'll set the gravity to 0, otherwise they're just going to be falling slowly, which is not what we want. We want them to be stationary unless you move them like this. So as you can see, they are both moving at the exact same time, which is not what we want. We want only one of them to move when we use our arrow keys. So in our ChatGPT here, I'm going to say actually, let's do this. So yeah, let's go rewrite the script. Let's go and say the Pong paddle so that each paddle can be controlled individually by 2 players. I don't know how well that's going to work, but let's see what it comes up with. So Pong paddle, mono behavior, so it should pretty much do exactly the same as this, but modify it a little bit so that you can control it by 2 different players, hopefully. So here it has created a new player name string, which is probably gonna what is it doing? Move import get axes player name plus axes name. Okay, let's read and see what this is. The script is attached to the 2 game objects that represent the paddle in the Pong game. The script uses an input.getAxes method to get the input from the player. The player name variable is added to the input axes, so each paddle can be controlled individually. You can adjust the speed of the paddles by changing the value of the speed. You can adjust the axes of the paddles. The paddles will move on by changing the value of the axes name. By default it's set to vertical. Okay, that's what it's done before. You can also change the player number by changing the value of the player number variable. For example, player number equals 1 for the first player and player number equals 2 for the second player. Then in the Unity editor you need to set the correct values of each paddle according to the player number. For example, for the first paddle the player number equals 1 and the axes equal vertical, and the second paddle. Okay, so that sounds simple enough, so let's go and copy that and just replace it in here. So we'll save that, and then we should see in the Unity editor a new field over here where we can input the player number. So here we have player number. So for the left paddle we will assign that to player 1, and for the right paddle we will assign that to player 2. So let's play the game and see how well this works. Okay, so that clearly doesn't work, but we did have an error there, so let's see what that says. Okay, so axis vertical, 2 vertical is not set up. Okay, so let's go. Clearly we didn't read this properly, so let's see what it says. So let's see. Then in the Unity editor you need to set the correct value for each paddle according to the player number. So for example, the first paddle, the player number is equal to 1. You can also change the player number by changing the value of the player number variable. For example, player 1 is equal to 1 for the first player and player number is equal to 2 for the second player. That kind of makes sense, but I don't understand how that would work. Because what it's doing here is it's simply combining the word that is assigned an axis name, which I assume is vertical, with the number. So it's going to be one vertical for player 1 and 2 vertical. That doesn't make sense. Float move is equal to input.getAxes player, so that's going to be 1 plus vertical, which is going to be 1 vertical. Interesting. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to, in the chat box, ask it to rewrite that in a different way. So we'll do this and say rewrite the code so that player 1 uses the keys W and S to move the paddle up and down, and player 2 uses the up and down keys to move the paddle up and down. Okay, so there shouldn't be an S on there, but anyway, it should be fine. So hopefully that rewrites the code so that works, because that I feel like is a better way of doing it. But let's go back into here and see what exactly is happening. Argument exception of input axis 1 vertical is not set up. Yeah, it's not set up. Because if we go into, where is it? File, build settings, I think. If that opens up, we can go to player settings, input, wherever that is, editor, no. Input manager, no. Yeah, axes, so vertical, horizontal. And so vertical here, name, vertical, descriptive name, vertical 1 is not set up, unless it is it? Vertical there, name, no. So it's not going to work. Like, I understand what it's trying to do, but I don't understand how that would work. So this clearly is struggling. We'll give it a little bit of extra time, see how long it takes, otherwise we'll go ahead and do it ourselves. So basically what I wanted to do is, instead of using the only arrow keys to move the paddle up and down for both players, I want the player 1, which is going to be controlling the left paddle, to use the W and S key, and the player 2, which is going to be controlling the right paddle, to use the up and down arrows to control it. So let's go back here, an error occurred. If this issue persists. Okay, so let's go and do this. So I'm going to copy that and paste that in there and just do it again and see if it works. Because if it doesn't, we might have to stop it and continue in the next episode, which we probably will do because it's going on to half an hour now. So yeah, this looks like it's struggling a bit, but you can see the aim of this game is to control the paddles and stop the ball from moving out of the scene view of the game. So clearly ChatGPT does work, it does generate the correct code. We haven't really had to change anything out of the code that it has generated for us, but it seems to be struggling now, or maybe I just confused it a little bit, or maybe I need to type that in a different way for it to understand it more. But we'll end this episode here, and then in tomorrow's or the next episode, whenever that is, we will carry on with this by asking it to control the paddles individually. But that's it for today's episode again, so thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.